Hey guys, Shot here, and we're back at it again. Today we're going to be joining our Blue Boys in Bastion and taking a look at what their Covenant has to offer. This is the second Covenant that we're going to be taking a look at, and if you happen to miss my feedback on Night Fae, you'll be able to check that out at the end of this video, but I do recommend sticking around for this one since you probably clicked on it for a reason. Similar to Night Fae, I'm not sure if this is going to be a meta powerhouse Covenant for Guardian Druids, but we're going to figure that out in this video, so let's dive in. Similar to our first video, we're going to break down the Covenant-wide ability that all players within the Bastion Covenant will have access to, and this ability is called Summon Steward. Summon Steward is on a 5-minute cooldown, and essentially what it does is it calls your Steward to bring you a Phial of Serenity that can be consumed to restore 20% health, remove all curse, disease, poison, and bleed effects, and your Steward will also offer access to a selection of useful amenities each once per day. Now, playing on the beta so far, this ability has gone a few changes to both the Phial of Serenity and as well as what the Steward offers. Some things are accessible more than once a day, like changing your talents, but this may just be a bug currently. So a list of the useful amenities that the Steward does offer is that it allows you to change your talents once per day. You can sell items and gear. You can have them play you a song, tell your friend how great they are, or you could tell it to leave. So there's a few pros to this ability. This is a nice ability that allows you to clear your inventory space, change talents, and provides useful buffs in dungeons like Necrotic Wake and Plaguefall. And I guess they're cute as well. At least during the quest line when you're introduced to Bastion, you do get to pick your Steward, and it has a specific name and a little personality. But on beta, when you opt into this Covenant, you don't get that choice. So I'm wondering if that's going to be something that you get to do playing through while leveling up your character. But I'm not sure yet. Also, being able to remove debuffs that could be detrimental to your character's health during a dungeon or a raid environment or raid encounter can be useful in many situations. Now, the few things that I find to be a problem with this is that there are already mounts and tomes that provide these services and aren't limited to once per day. With recent changes to Phial of Serenity, the potion was actually nerfed. It used to have a 1-minute cooldown, which was now changed to a 3-minute cooldown, which doesn't really make sense because you can't even get all 3 uses in before you can restock. The potion healing was actually buffed from 15% of your max health to 20%, but that doesn't really justify the 3-minute cooldown. The Phial removing a debuff is pretty cool and all, but can be replaced with other consumables that are being introduced, like Potion of Soul Purity, which is a new potion being added to Shadowlands. My main issue that such a cool ability and potion are being nerfed over the course of the beta so far, and there are other ways to supplement what the Steward offers, with other in-game items which remove the luxury of having this as an ability. For role-playing purposes, this is great, and if all Covenant abilities were like this, it would be okay. But with abilities like Soul Shape and Fleshcraft being present in other Covenants, it makes this one feel pretty weak. I would like to see reverts back to Phial of Serenity to make other Covenants feel less impactful, just like the Steward. Now we're going to get into the class-specific stuff. So this ability is called Kindred Spirits, and it doesn't have a cooldown, but it also has a 1-minute cooldown if you're bonded with another player. So this ability can't really be simmed all that well because it has so many different uses, and is relatively confusing on a surface level, but I'm going to do my best to explain which of the bonds do what. So what this ability does is you form a bond with an ally, and every 1 minute you may empower that bond for 10 seconds, granting you an effect based on your partner's role, and granting them an effect based on your role. So as a tank player, what you do is you bond with your partner, or you protect your bonded partner, redirecting 40% of the damage that they take to you, unless you fall below 20% health. So if you are a DPS player, you grant your bonded partner 30% of your damage as additional arcane damage, healing, or absorption. So this may change just on an RNG basis. And then lastly, if you are a healer, you focus on your bonded partner, replicating 30% all of the healing that you deal onto them. To put this into common terms, as a tank player, when you use Kindred Protection, it's as if you're granting them a Hand of Sacrifice. You will be redirecting damage that your bonded partner takes to yourself, and while this is active, depending on what class or role that you're bonded with, they will also give you the benefit of their bond as well. So if you're bonded with a healer, not only are you protecting them, but 30% of the healing that they are going to be doing is also going to be granted to you as additional healing. I would compare this to a temporary beacon of light that Holy Paladins give. Essentially, playing this Covenant as a Druid makes you a part-time Paladin. The same goes for a DPS player. If you cast your bond on them along with Kindred Protection, their damage will be replicated to you as damage, as well as giving you random absorbs and healing. A good player is going to capitalize on these and swapping between bonds depending on the pull or the content you are doing. For example, during a key, you may want to bond with a DPS to grant yourself additional damage, but you may want to swap your bond to healer before an intense boss fight, so your healer can primarily focus on healing the group. I'm sure that most people will just bond with one DPS or their healer for the majority of the key, and in this case, you'll want to bond either with a DPS who's going to be taking a lot of damage, or bond with the biggest dick DPS in your group. Or obviously, you're going to want to connect with your healer to have additional healing throughput. So there's a few pros to this ability. Now, the ability to have a more developed toolkit to assist your group in not dying is really fun to play with. Helping the healer with throughput while also keeping yourself alive acts as like a mini cooldown. When you use on a DPS, it allows them to stay alive by redirecting some of the damage they may take, while also helping you generate aggro, since Guardian Druids have often struggled with that. I find it to be more impactful when you're bonded with the healer, since keeping the healer alive is ultimately will keep the group alive. Being able to give them a 40% damage reduction on top of retrospectively a 30% HPS boost for 10 seconds seems to be extremely impactful. I don't have exact numbers for this since my details actually was super bugging out, but it's hard to tell because if you use it at the wrong time, the healing or the damage may be impacted or count as overhealing. Now, obviously with pros, there has to be some cons. For some reason, the damage and healing ratio that Kindred Empowerment would give actually seemed extremely lackluster, and even when I used the ability on a DPS who can consistently pump 10k DPS onto some trash pulls, it would take into account the uptime of the ability. I find it hard to believe that it only ended up being about 2 to 3% of my overall damage. With this ability also being on the global, it can easily put you behind on rage and mitigation if used at the wrong time, and with the healing, it only ended up being sub 2% of my healing on average. I'm sure this is scaled into Nature's Guardian, which is our mastery, so it's worth a little bit more, but I'm not sure if it's worth taking with such a low healing and damage output. This also doesn't seem to have a lot of synergies with any talents or legendaries, unlike Night Fae, and not having the complexity within these systems actually makes it feel bad. You almost just have to take it at face value. What often makes classes extremely strong is the synergy between talents, abilities, systems, and legendaries altogether. So why would you choose this Covenant? Now, my reasons to play this Covenant won't be as appealing as Night Fae, but I do think it has some perks. If you're a player who wants to benefit your party by granting them damage boosts, healing boosts, and damage reductions, this can be a good fit. It has a good utility feel to it, and it's practical to run in keys. And how high of keys, you may ask? I have no idea. The damage absorb can be really strong if used at the right moment, but with mechanics and timers of boss fights still being figured out, it's hard to gauge the right moment to use this ability. And I'm sure this will become punishing at points where there are high key levels of tank damage, as well as group damage. When it comes to helping the healer with throughput, I think this is a strong choice of a Covenant. The Covenant arc and the theme is also really clean and pleasing. The little time I spent in Bastion Hub felt great. If I could choose a Covenant solely based on aesthetic, Kyrian would definitely be my choice. Sadly, it does come down to player power, and with Steward having no practical use that you can just get outside of the ability, feels a little underwhelming, and the current sims and numbers with the damage doesn't seem too high in value. If all Covenants were in this line, I think it would be a stable choice. But sadly, I think that there are other Covenants that can offer more throughput and mitigation. I also like complex builds, and without having synergy with the implementation of legendaries, I can't see this being super practical choice when doing or looking to push high keys or even in raid, or actually even PvP as a Guardian Druid. So there's not much to it, I suppose. That's my breakdown of the Kyrian Covenant abilities. Obviously, there are other things in play like soulbind trees, which I don't cover in this video. If you're interested in seeing soulbinds, I recommend hit that subscribe button. I plan on doing the last 2 Covenants at least in the next week or so, and then I will be breaking down soulbinds for you. Regarding Kyrian abilities, I would love to see some discourse in the comment section below. If I did miss anything or overlook something, please let me know in a respectful manner. I am often an idiot. And I do hope you guys enjoyed this. Hit that like button if you did. It lets me know to keep making content like this. I hope you're staying well and have a great rest of your day, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Take care.